the Holy One, blessed be He. Welcome to Beit Yisrael International's Voice of Torah podcast. I am Gaddi Efrayim, and today we explore Parsha Bo, the final plagues and the dawn of Israel's liberation, with host agents Abraham and Sarah. The phrase Bo el Paro, it enter into Pharaoh, teaches us that true redemption requires addressing the core of spiritual challenges, not just external symptoms. The Zohar explains that Moses' entry into Pharaoh's inner chambers symbolized a battle against Egypt's spiritual essence, arrogance, and idolatry. According to Bereshit Rabbah, the 10 plagues correspond to the 10 utterances of creation, restoring divine order. The 10 plagues dismantled Egypt's false beliefs, proving God's sovereignty over all realms. Each plague targeted a specific Egyptian deity, such as the plague of darkness that challenged the sun god Ra. The sages emphasized the theme of firsts, with God revealing himself as the first, punishing the first, Esau, building the first, the temple, and bringing the first, the Messiah, linking the Exodus to the future redemption. The message of Parsha Bo is clear. Redemption is both physical and spiritual. To leave Egypt fully, we must confront our own inner Pharaoh, ego and doubt, and allow divine light to guide our path. Thank you for joining Beit Yisrael International's Voice of Torah podcast. Stay tuned for more Torah insights.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today into a phrase. You might have heard it before. Bo el Paro.
Enter into Pharaoh.
That's it. Enter into Pharaoh. We're going way beyond just the surface level here, folks. We've got some incredible sources. We've got excerpts from Bo el Paro confronting inner darkness and revealing divine light, some classic Zohar.
Ooh, nice.
We've got commentary from Gaddi Efrayim and Beit Yisrael International. We're going deep, so buckle up. This isn't just like some dusty history lesson. This is a roadmap, folks, for real personal transformation.
That's what's so amazing about these stories, right? You think they're just historical, but they have so much to teach us about ourselves.
Yeah. Like when you hear Pharaoh, right, you picture this like almost mythical figure, this larger-than-life bad guy.
Right, like the ultimate tyrant.
Exactly. But what I'm hearing is, this phrase is pointing us inward.
That's exactly it. Beit Yisrael International really emphasizes this. It's not about some external battle. Bo el Paro means confronting our own internal darkness, facing those things within us that hold us back.
So instead of fighting some enemy out there, we're being called to look in the mirror, face our own shadows.
Precisely. And the Zohar, which is like this, a key text in Jewish mysticism, it takes it even further. It describes Pharaoh's inner chamber as containing a mighty dragon.
A dragon? Whoa, okay. That definitely sounds like something I would want to avoid.
Right. But that's the whole point. We can't just avoid these parts of ourselves. We have to enter into them. That's what Bo el Paro is calling us to do. And that dragon, it symbolizes spiritual concealment, arrogance, ego, these forces that keep us from connecting with our true selves.
So this dragon's like guarding something precious, but also dangerous.
Exactly. And for anyone who might not be super familiar with Jewish mysticism, the Zohar is like, it's a foundational text in Kabbalah. It helps us see things, like the hidden dimensions of reality. It's got these amazing images and symbols, like that dragon, representing our struggles.
So it's not about just slaying the dragon. It's about understanding what it represents, what it's guarding.
Yeah. Remember, Moses wasn't told to just defeat Pharaoh. It was Bo el Paro. Go right into the heart of that darkness. Get to the root of the problem. Don't just deal with the symptoms.
It's like those old cartoons, right? The hero has to go into the dragon's lair to get the treasure.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And the Gaddi Efrayim Notes, they actually highlight this too. They're all about confronting the spiritual essence of Egypt's corruption. Not just the surface stuff, the political stuff, whatever. It's about that deeper imbalance, the thing that causes all the other problems.
Gotcha. Okay, that's making more sense. So how does this relate to us, to our lives today? Are you saying we all have these inner dragons to face?
Absolutely. Think about the parts of yourself that hold you back. Fear of failure, self-doubt, procrastination, whatever keeps you stuck, those are your dragons.
Man, this is really resonating with me. I can definitely relate to those dragons. But there's something that's always confused me about the story. Why would God harden Pharaoh's heart? It seems like it's working against the whole liberation thing.
That's a question that stumped people.
Right.
A long time.
Right.
It seems counterintuitive. Why make it harder for Pharaoh to let them go? Well, it gets into this idea of divine sovereignty. It's this idea that God's in control of everything, even the stuff that seems bad or difficult. And the Gaddi Efrayim Notes point out that even Pharaoh's hard heart, it served a purpose.
So even the obstacles, even the setbacks, they're part of a bigger plan.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It's not that God wanted Pharaoh to be stubborn. It's about understanding that even resistance and difficulty, they play a role. In the grand scheme of things, I know it's tough to wrap your head around, but it suggests that there's this deeper wisdom. We don't always see it.
It's like looking at a tapestry from the back, all those messy threads, you don't get it until you see the whole picture.
Exactly. And it really highlights how important it is to trust the process, even when it's confusing or painful. Everything is connected in ways we might not fully grasp.
Okay, so confronting our dragons, divine sovereignty, it's all coming together. But what about the plagues? Those are a big part of the Exodus story. What's the deeper meaning there? They always seem so, intense.
Yeah, I get it. The imagery is definitely intense. But remember that dragon we were talking about? Each plague is like taking apart Pharaoh's inner dragon piece by piece. They're not just random punishments. They're very targeted at specific aspects of Egyptian society and symbolically at aspects of our own internal Egypt, you could say.
So less about literal frogs and locusts and more about what they represent.
Yes, each plague reveals the emptiness of an Egyptian god or a belief system. It's showing the limits of that system, both literally and metaphorically.
Interesting. So it's not just about causing suffering. It's about breaking down something that's not working.
Exactly. And get this, the Gaddi Efrayim Notes connect the 10 plagues to the 10 utterances of creation, like in Genesis.
Whoa, hold on. Plagues and creation are connected. Oh.
Right. It's mind-blowing. It's like a cosmic reversal. Creation brought things into being. The plagues are using those same elements to break down something that's become twisted, something out of whack with divine order.
I'm starting to think about challenges differently. Like, they're not just things to avoid, but chances to grow, to create something new.
Exactly. They have transformative potential. The Israelites went through the plagues to reach freedom. We often go through tough stuff, to reach a new level of understanding.
I'm seeing Bo El Paro in a whole new light. It's not just an event. It's a blueprint for personal transformation.
You got it. And it fits perfectly with Chassidic thought. Have you ever explored that at all?
I've heard of it, but I don't know the details. What's the connection here?
The Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidism, he and later Chassidic masters, they focused on the inner meaning of Jewish teachings. They saw Bo El Paro as a personal challenge to confront those barriers that keep us from the divine.
So it's not just Moses and Pharaoh, it's each of us against our own inner Pharaoh.
Yes. They saw Pharaoh as representing the ego, the part of us that resists change, clings to what's familiar, even when it's not good for us.
So we're not just reading about something that happened a long time ago. We're seeing these dynamics within ourselves.
Exactly. And that's where the real work starts. When we can see those pharaohs within us, those thought patterns, those blocks, the things that hold us back, we can start to deal with them, make room for something new.
This is incredible. So many layers of meaning. It all leads back to personal growth. And you mentioned that it gets even deeper with Kabbalah. Ready to go there?
Let's do it. Kabbalah helps us see past the surface, right? And with Bo El Paro, it gets really interesting. The Zohar talks about these things called klipot to explain that spiritual concealment we talked about.
Klipot. Okay, I haven't heard that one before. What are they?
Imagine a diamond covered in dirt. The diamond is our pure spark, our potential.
Yeah.
But it's hidden by all that dirt. And that dirt, that's the klipot. Fear, anger, ego. They obscure our true brilliance.
So the light's not gone, it's just hidden.
Exactly. Spiritual growth, entering into Pharaoh. It's about clearing away the klipot, that dirt, revealing the diamond within.
I love that. We're all diamonds in the rough. Our journey is about polishing ourselves.
Beautifully said. And confronting those klipot, it's not just about us, it's about elevating everything, bringing more light into the world, seeing that divine spark in everyone, everything.
That's beautiful. It's taking the inner work and letting it shine outward. It's like,
I love your enthusiasm for this. It's really sparking something in you.
it is. I think it's something that will resonate with our listeners, too. It feels like we've covered so much, but just scratch the surface.
We have. And there's more to come. Next time, we'll look at Bo Paro on a collective level, how it relates to social justice, our responsibility to challenge systems that create darkness.
Can't wait to dive into that. It's so clear that Bo Paro is not just an old story, it's a message for today.
Absolutely. And it gives us a path to navigate challenges, both as individuals and as a society. It's an invitation to step into our power, embrace our potential, create a world that reflects the divine light within us all. It's like we've got this ancient treasure map, and it leads us to personal growth, but also to a deeper understanding of how we can impact the world.
It really is. We've been focused on this inner journey, facing those inner pharaohs. But Beit Yisrael International also talked about like a collective dimension, right? It's not just about us as individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. The Exodus story, it's not just about one person's liberation. It's about an entire people breaking free from oppression. And that speaks to our responsibility to challenge those systems, the ones that perpetuate darkness and injustice in the world.
So we're talking about like pharaohs on a bigger level, societal forces that oppress and limit freedom.
Exactly. Think about how power can be misused, how greed can blind us to the needs of others, how fear and prejudice divide us. Those are all expressions of that pharaonic energy, the same thing we see on a personal level.
So this story is like giving us a model for personal transformation, but also for like social change.
That's a great point. And the Gaddi Efrayim Notes, they talk about how each plague, each one targeted a specific part of Egyptian society. It wasn't just about suffering. It was about dismantling a system that had become oppressive.
So each plague was like a strike against a particular form of darkness, exposing the injustices.
Precisely. And that suggests that we need to be strategic, too, in our efforts to make a difference. We have to identify the root causes of the problems we see, like poverty and inequality, and the work to dismantle those systems, just like the plagues dismantled the systems of Egypt.
I see. So it's not enough to just work on ourselves. We also have to address those bigger pharaohs, the ones that keep those harmful systems in place.
And I know that can feel overwhelming. But remember, Moses didn't face Pharaoh alone. He had the Israelites with him. And ultimately, he had the support of something much greater.
So we're not supposed to do this alone either. We need to find allies, people who share our vision for a better world.
Exactly. That collective energy, that working together for a common goal, it's incredibly powerful. When we feel empowered to act, to make a difference, we tap into that same energy that allowed Moses to lead his people to freedom.
Wow. This is giving me a whole new way to think about activism and change. It's not just about protests or petitions. It's about understanding those deeper forces at play.
And it's about realizing that each of us has a role to play in this collective liberation. We might not all be Moses, but we can all contribute.
Yeah. It could be speaking out, supporting organizations, or even just having those tough conversations with people who might disagree with us.
Exactly. Every act of courage, every step towards greater awareness, it all adds up. Every effort to dismantle oppression, it contributes to the journey toward freedom for all of us.
This is really powerful. It's like we're not just watching this happen. We can actually shape a more just and compassionate world.
That sense of agency it's essential. When we feel empowered to act, to make a difference, we tap into that same divine energy that fueled Moses.
It's like we're being called to be modern day Moseses, each in our own way, facing those pharaohs that stand in the way.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And remember, even Moses, he had moments of doubt. It's okay to feel overwhelmed by the scale of the problems. But ultimately, we have to trust that inner strength, that connection to a higher purpose. It's what guides us.
Yeah. We can do no great things, only small things with great love.
Exactly. It's those small acts of love, the little choices we make that come together to create a more just and compassionate world.
This has been amazing. We've uncovered so much. The personal, the collective, the spiritual. It's like this endless well of wisdom.
Nissan, the Firstborn, and Redemption.
Oh yeah, this is a rich one.
It is. We've got some really fascinating excerpts to dig into from, the one with insights from Gaddi Efrayim and Beit Yisrael International.
A great combination of sources. They each bring something unique to the table, blending like history, spirituality, all that. Should make for some interesting discussion.
Totally. So let's kick things off with Nissan itself.
Yeah.
What makes this month so special? Why is it more than just, another month on the calendar?
Well, in Jewish tradition, Nissan is actually considered the head of the months. It's like the starting point.
Ah.
And it marks the beginning of the Jewish year. It commemorates the exodus from Egypt. So, think liberation, a fresh start, themes that resonate with all of us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That universal longing for a clean slate, a chance to break free from whatever might be holding us back.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that these sources emphasize this idea that we should each see ourselves as having personally left Egypt.
Interesting.
Like, it's not just a historical event, something that happened thousands of years ago. It's an ongoing process of redemption that we're all part of, both individually and collectively.
Okay, I see. So it's taking that historical event and making it personally relevant to each of us, even today.
Exactly. And when you think about it, redemption came at the very last moment for the Israelites. They were almost completely absorbed into Egyptian culture, on the verge of losing their identity.
So it really was a close call.
It was. And it kind of makes you think, sometimes breakthroughs can happen when we least expect them, even when things seem hopeless, It's a powerful message of hope.
Totally, yeah. So we've got Nissan, this time for new beginnings and liberation. Now, where does this whole concept of the firstborn come into play? How does that fit in?
Okay, so in Jewish thought, the firstborn is seen as having a certain sanctity. They represent a dedication to God. It's about recognizing that, God ultimately owns creation, but it goes deeper than just who was born first in a family.
It's more about embodying certain values, a certain way of being.
Exactly, you got it. Gaddi Efrayim, he actually emphasizes that the firstborn is called to reflect God's will in the world, acting as a bridge between heaven and earth, living a life aligned with a higher purpose,
Okay. And thinking back to the Exodus story, we have that pretty dramatic moment with the sparing of the Israelite firstborn while the Egyptian firstborn are, struck down. What do the sources have to say about the significance of that event?
Right. Well, Beit Yisrael International, they point out that this was a direct challenge to the very heart of Egyptian society, their beliefs, their power structure, everything. But even beyond that, it really underscores God's sovereignty, his power to step in and change impossible situations.
Yeah. So we've got Nissan, a time for new beginnings. We've got this idea of the firstborn, which is about embodying certain values and a dedication to something bigger than ourselves. But then there's this other layer here too, right? This connection between Israel, the Messiah, and this recurring theme of firsts.
Exactly. Both Jacob, the patriarch of Israel, and the Messiah, they're both referred to as firstborn. It's like this thread connecting the past, present, and future, suggesting there's a divine blueprint unfolding throughout history. It's not just random events, but a purposeful plan, a direction. And, it really makes you think about our own place in all of this. Where do we fit into this unfolding story?
It really does. It makes me wonder, what role do we each play in this story of redemption?
That's a great question. It's something for us all to ponder as we continue this deep dive.
Yeah, it really does make you think about the bigger picture. Yeah. And when we connect this whole idea of firstborn to the plague of the firstborn in Egypt and the liberation of the Israelites, what can we learn from that? What's the deeper message there, Yeah, that's what I'm curious about too. The sources definitely seem to be hinting at something deeper going on there.
Yeah, true freedom. It's not just about physical liberation, escaping slavery. It's about something more internal. It's about recognizing divine authority, breaking free from the limitations of our own ego, and aligning ourselves with a higher power.
Okay, so the Exodus wasn't just about leaving Egypt physically, but also about an internal shift. A shift in consciousness.
Exactly, yeah. And this is where things get really fascinating when you bring in the Chassidic and Kabbalistic perspectives.
Okay, how so?
Well, they view the Exodus as an inner journey, a process of breaking free from our own internal Egypts, so to speak.
Internal Egypts. What does that mean exactly?
Think about those limiting beliefs we all have, those fears, insecurities, those things that hold us back from our full potential. Those are the internal Egypts that we need to confront and overcome.
Interesting. So Nissan, with its emphasis on liberation and new beginnings, it's almost like a special time for personal breakthroughs. A time to shed those old ways of thinking and embrace a new level of freedom.
Precisely. It's like an invitation to step into greater alignment with our true selves and a higher purpose. But the question is, how do we actually apply these ancient ideas to our modern lives? That's the key, right?
Yeah, it is. It's easy to get caught up in the big picture, the lofty ideals, But sometimes it feels overwhelming to actually apply those concepts in a practical way, in our day-to-day lives. Like, where do we even begin?
Yeah, I hear you. That's where the wisdom of the sources comes in. They offer practical guidance on how to cultivate that firstborn energy, that sense of purpose and dedication, even amidst, the busyness of modern life. Remember, we were talking about how the firstborn were sanctified, set apart for a special purpose.
Right, right. But what does that mean for those of us who aren't literally firstborn? Does it still apply?
That's where the beauty of symbolism comes in, right? It's not about literal birth order. It's about recognizing the first fruits of our efforts, our talents, our very being, and dedicating those to something meaningful.
So it's like taking the best of ourselves and offering it back to the source.
Yeah.
Making our lives a kind of offering.
Precisely. And the sources suggest that this act of sanctification, it has like ripple effects. It elevates not just ourselves, but the world around us. Remember how the sources point out that Israel, as God's firstborn, has a responsibility to guide the nations towards unity.
Right, yes. It's not about superiority, but about service. About using your unique gifts to contribute to something larger than yourself.
Exactly. And that concept can be applied on a personal level as well. Like when we dedicate ourselves to living with purpose, integrity, we become like beacons of light, inspiring others to do the same.
Yeah, it's like a chain reaction of positive energy spreading outward from that initial act of dedication. So Nissan isn't just a time to reflect on the past, but it's also a time to actively shape the future, to take action.
Absolutely. It's a call to action and an invitation to step into our full potential and become agents of positive change.
Okay, let's get practical for a moment. What are some tangible steps that we can take to actually implement these concepts in our daily lives? Because it can all feel a bit abstract sometimes.
Yeah, totally. I hear you. One key practice the sources highlight is cultivating awareness. Just notice those moments throughout your day where you feel a spark of inspiration, a surge of energy, a desire to make a difference. Those are glimpses of your firstborn potential trying to emerge,
So paying attention to those subtle cues, those inner nudges, those moments when we feel called to act.
Exactly, you got it. And the next step is to actually act on those impulses. Even in small ways, like maybe it's offering a kind word to a stranger, or volunteering your time for a cause you care about, or simply choosing to approach a challenging situation with a more positive attitude.
From making conscious choices that align with our highest values, even in the midst of, our everyday routines.
Exactly. And the more we do this, the more natural it becomes. We start to embody that firstborn energy effortlessly, radiating it outward into all areas of our lives.
But it's not about achieving some grand, unattainable goal, but about those small, consistent efforts that build upon each other over time.
That's the idea. And as we do this, we begin to experience a sense of like deep fulfillment, knowing that we're living in alignment with our true purpose. It's like we're tapping into that divine blueprint, that sense of a purposeful plan unfolding through us.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
And as we each do our part, we contribute to the collective tapestry of redemption, bringing more light and healing into the world.
So Nissan isn't just a historical event or a religious holiday.
Yeah.
It's like a blueprint for a more meaningful and impactful life.
Yeah, it really is. And what I find so interesting about this whole concept is that it's both empowering and humbling, It's empowering because it reminds us that we actually have a role to play, our choices matter. But then it's also humbling, right? Because it acknowledges that there's something bigger going on here, something beyond just our own individual ego.
Yeah, it's like that paradox of redemption, right?
Yeah.
It's both personal and collective. We each have our own unique journey to go on, but we're also all interconnected. Like we're all woven into this tapestry of shared experience,
Yeah, and Nissan, with all its emphasis on renewal and liberation, it's almost like this perfect opportunity to really tap into that interconnectedness, to remember that we're not alone in this journey, Exactly. And as we move forward with all these insights that we've been discussing, there's this one question that the sources raise that I find really thought-provoking.
Okay, what is it?
Well, they ask, if Nissan is all about breaking free from limitations, what Egypts might we still be clinging to in our lives? What are those internal narratives, those limiting beliefs, those outdated patterns that might be holding us back from experiencing true freedom?
That's a powerful question. It really challenges us to go deeper beyond just the surface and examine our inner landscape, identify those areas where we might still be unconsciously enslaved, because so much of what holds us back really is internal, isn't it?
Yeah. It often is. And that's why I think the message of Nissan is just so relevant, you know?
Yeah.
It reminds us that redemption is not just this one-time event, but it's an ongoing process, a lifelong journey of self-discovery and liberation.
Yeah, so it's not like a destination that we arrive at, but more like this continuous unfolding, this spiral of growth and transformation that we can keep engaging with again and again, right?
Yeah.
Precisely. And each Nissan is like this chance, this opportunity to renew our commitment to that journey, to shed those old layers and step more fully into, our authentic selves.
Wow, I feel like we've just barely scratched the surface here. There's so much more to explore with these concepts, but I think this is a good place to pause for now and just let these ideas sink in for a bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Just let them simmer in your mind for a while and, see what insights come up as you navigate these coming days and weeks.
And who knows? Maybe this deep dive has sparked a desire to really dive deeper into the wisdom of Nissan the Firstborn and this whole idea of redemption.
There's always more to discover, more to learn, more to integrate into our lives. The journey never ends, and that's what makes it so exciting, right?
Absolutely. So until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep embracing the transformative power of these timeless truths. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.